Right, welcome, welcome. Been a while since we've done a stream. Hope you guys will bear with me while I figure things out here. Right, welcome, welcome. Been a while since we've done a stream. Hope you guys will bear with me while I figure things out here. So, hope everyone's having a nice evening. We've got at least two people here in the chat. Let's fix that. All right. Let's see. Where do we want to start? Lower game volume or raise volume. Let's see. Let me try lowering the game volume. Let's put it down to. Well, there's really not going to be any volume at all once we get started. Yeah, I fixed the feedback thing. But once we get started, there's actually no volume in this game, so it won't be too big of an issue. Let's go to, let's start off at first class here. I don't think I've ever actually done this at night before. I think every time I've done this, it was in the daytime mode. Yeah, the menu, all music is going to be gone. This is still a demo of this game, so once we get started exploring the ship, there's not going to be any volume at all. You'll be able to just hear me. Yeah, you're not going to hear the volume from the game anymore. As long as you can hear me, though, that's what matters. We're going to have to get some other lighting for me as well. I can see that might be an issue somewhere down the line. If I'm playing like really dark games, which I don't see that happening because I really don't want to do a a gaming stream. I don't see that happening. Because really, I mean, I guess you could say this is a game, but really the developers themselves classify it more as they call it, a digital museum. So, tomato, tomato, whatever. Some might consider it a game, some might not consider it a game. So, what are you up to this evening? There's a delay in the chat, by the way. It doesn't usually take it this long to load. Hope it's not fixing to crash. So, how's everybody's evening going? Oh, that's cool. Hopefully, it was a minor issue and not something major with her car. So I guess let's get this thing kicked off while we wait for this to load. Titanic, the Titan sub. That's kind of the topics I wanted to discuss this evening. Um, any thoughts on either topic? Anything come to mind? This shouldn't take this long. I may have to crash the game and restart it. Yeah, you definitely don't want AC issues right now. I think the game kind of crashed. Billy, what's up? Trying to get this game going here. Yeah, to say it's a poor design is putting it modestly, or lightly, I should say, unfortunately. The bad part is that he more and more news is coming out that he had so many people tell him that this could happen. We'll get more into that in a minute. I'll try and figure out what's going on with this game. Okay, let's try relaunching that. Cameron's sub was made out of one or the other. I forget exactly which one. And he was actually, I remember one of his, one of the things he said about it after the fact was that I think he said he knew by like Monday morning that the sub had imploded. And the reason for that was he heard like underwater sonar. There was they detected something like that, a noise underwater that sonar picked up, and it was consistent with what they would have called an implosion. And I was hopeful. I mean, like everyone else, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think by Thursday morning, I really, for me personally, I was starting to get the feeling that it wasn't going to end well, and I was starting to think that the sub had imploded, probably by like Thursday morning, because they said at that point the oxygen was going to run out, assuming that the sub was still intact and everyone was alive. That it was going to run out. They were going to run out of air sometime Thursday morning, but I don't know. Honestly, I just, like I said, I just had a feeling. I had this really bad feeling that the sub had imploded, and unfortunately, that's what happened. And I mean, it's just so unfortunate. I mean, from what I understand, so many experts within that field warned this guy that this could happen, and unfortunately, he I don't know if it was stubbornness or he just didn't want to listen to what they were saying. Yep, precisely. They were bolted into the thing. I actually saw a video from some guy. I watched this yesterday, where we're just going to check out Britannic here because for some reason I can't get the Titanic game to load. So we're going to look around Britannic for a little bit, and I'm going to see go back to the Titanic one in a bit and see if we can we can get that working. This is Britannic as she was supposed to be, the RMS Britannic. She would have been the final Olympic class ship. But yeah, even forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, I completely lost my chain of thought there. But yeah, okay. So now I remember what I wanted to say. So even if the sub, if they found the sub, let's say, hypothetically speaking here, the sub did not implode and they were stuck at the bottom. From what I understood, what they were saying, it wasn't as simple as, strap a tow hook to the thing and just pull it up. It would have been a lot more involved than that. So they find the thing Thursday morning. The air supply is pretty much run out. They still have to get the thing to the surface, which takes 2.5 hours, assuming everything goes right. And then they have to unbolt the thing and get the people out of the sub. So I really wish this guy would have just listened to the people who were warning him that this design that he had was not safe. It was not a good idea. And well, from what I see, like Cameron and other people are pointing out that this composite fiber or whatever it is that this thing was made of. So the way Cameron explained it, if I remember right, it's like you have these multiple materials that are like intertwined, and that's what makes this carbon fiber. Whereas traditional subs that went down to the Titanic and some even deeper, Cameron's sub being one that actually went way deeper than the Titanic, he went down to the Mariana Trench. And his subs were made of, like I said, steel or titanium, as is every other sub before it. So, I mean, we can't ask Stockton Rush. He was the guy who owned the sub and piloted the sub. It was ultimately his call, you know, to take that sub down there. I would love to ask him if he were here, why would you go with this experimental design, which he himself admitted was an experimental design, when we have these tried and true submersibles that have been down to the Titanic so many times. The Titanic wreck was discovered in 1985. That's 38 years ago. And for as long as I can remember, in 38 years, this is the first time we have ever had a fatality involving someone diving down to the wreck. Now imagine how far submersible technology has come since 1985. We're 38 years on from that. So that's just what I would want to ask him. Why did you go with this instead of going with something that's tried and true? And by your own admission, it's an experimental sub, so why would you bring people on it when you yourself say it's an experimental sub? Yeah, I kind of got sidetracked. I was going to talk about this guy. I watched his YouTube video yesterday, and I forget his name, but a real young guy. Looked like he was in his maybe early to mid 20s. Um, he was on one of the missions that was supposed to dive down in that sub to the Titanic. and they counted them up by mission numbers. There was mission 1, mission 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one is the one where the implosion happened. This guy was on mission 3, or was supposed to be. I think he flew out from Georgia up to Newfoundland, where the mothership and the submersible depart. They rode all the way out there to the site where the Titanic is, and there were, for several different reasons, Stockton Rush ended up canceling the expedition to the Titanic, and for various reasons. I believe he's even got video. The guy, the YouTuber, where he's recording Stockton Rush, and Rush is explaining all the issues as to why they can't make the dive. And every single one of these issues is something involving the sub. So you got all these issues, and it doesn't dawn on you that something could be wrong with this thing. I just don't get it. Okay, so you know who I'm talking about. Like I said, I couldn't remember his name. This ship is so amazing looking at night. There's one thing that I really didn't kind of get about, some of the news. You had some people saying Titanic has claimed 5 more lives after the sub went down. No, it didn't. Um, you know, Titanic is an inanimate object that's been sitting down there for 111 years. The yeah, it really does, doesn't it? This is pretty much what the Titanic and Olympic would have looked like at night as well. But anyway, um, yeah, I mean the Titanic's an inanimate object. It's been sitting there for 111 years. It's we humans that keep going to it. So I didn't get that, and I didn't quite understand uh, one comment that Cameron made. Well, a couple of comments that Cameron made concerning the ship. Cameron is of the opinion that he draws some parallels in one of his interviews to what happened to the actual Titanic, and one of the things he said was you the captain was full speed ahead, going through the night recklessly, all that. Um, I'm not sure I fully agree with that for various reasons. So you could say that they shouldn't have been going maybe that fast through an ice field, but the couple of things to remember about April of 1912. One mostly being that ice was flowing farther down into the Labrador Current than what it normally would for that time of year. There was no International Ice Patrol, so nobody knew this. The International Ice Patrol was a result of Titanic sinking. So Captain Smith did not know this. He did not know ice was flowing further down into the Labrador Current. He adjusted his original route to go further south, thinking he would avoid all the ice altogether. And the other thing to remember is that, as you see, like in this game right here, it was a clear night. Now you can say that it was pitch black, it was a moonless night, unlike this. So yes, he could have posted and probably should have posted more lookouts. You had Frederick Fleet up here in the Crow's Nest, and I forget the name of the other lookout, but they were here. Well, not most, but some people have said they would have posted more lookouts right here on the bow. You know, four sets of eyes are better than two. So, that's one thing you could argue against him for. But to say that he was reckless, I mean, I don't know about that. And I'm actually reading this book here. I'll show it to you. This may not be coming up on the video or not, but it's called Dead Wake, uh, and it is about the Lusitania. Now, the thing about this book is, and I learned something new recently in it. Well, I've been learning a lot of new stuff in it, but um, one of the things they talk about is Captain William Turner, who was the captain of the Lusitania when it was sunk. He was captain of the Mauretania at the time of the Titanic sinking, and he was deposed by lawyers a few years after the Titanic sinking because they wanted his opinion on whether or not he would be sailing through ice that fast in the middle of the night. And his answer emphatically was no. So you got a captain who was captain of a ship not quite as large as the Titanic, but pretty close, who understood sailing conditions in 1912, had done it multiple times, just like Captain Smith did. Remember, Captain Smith was not some inexperienced guy. He was captain of the Olympic the year before Titanic, and prior to that, he made many, many successful voyages across the Atlantic. So I think ultimately it comes down to your opinion as to whether or not the captain was going through the ice too fast. On the one hand, I don't think he was being reckless. On the other hand, you've got people who were around and sailing vessels at the same time he was in the same area, saying, hey, I wouldn't have sailed a ship through the ocean that fast if there was ice. So I don't know. It just depends. All right, let me see if I can get the Titanic game back up so we can actually look at the ship we're discussing. I was asked in the Discord, do I think that um, people are going to go to jail as a result of what happened with the Titan sub? It's hard to say because you got the guy Stockton Rush who would ultimately be responsible for everything. The buck kind of stopped with him on the sub as to whether or not it would go, the design, the construction, everything about it. Well, he died in the implosion, so I mean, who are you going to arrest? Who's going to go to jail? Needless to say, I mean, lawsuits are going to happen. I mean, that's a given. I mean, that company is going to get sued into oblivion. There. I don't think there's any coming back uh, from that for this company. All right, I think I might have this thing up finally. I think I figured out what was wrong with it. But it was still pretty cool to see Britannic, right? So yeah, here's a question for you. I know what I know what my answer would be, but I want to see what you would say. Well, they did sign waivers, but you know as well as I do, you can make people sign all the waivers you want. It's they're still going to sue. People are going to sue, and rightfully so. I mean, if anything, the company itself is negligible. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I'm just speculating. I would think this company would be negligible because it's wrongful death. If I'm wrong on that, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments when they watch the replay of this. There we go. Let's see. I think of what I did earlier. I loaded up an older version of the demo that doesn't function anymore, not paying attention. Yeah. So that explains why I couldn't get it to play at night. But here we are. Let's finally look at the ship we're talking about. There we go. So, having said all that, here's a question for you. Um, let's see if we can go back in time before this stuff with the Titan happened. My question is, would you dive to the Titanic? I want to see what your answer is, and then I'll tell you mine. There is a delay in chat, by the way. Just a heads up. All right. Still hoping this game loads. Now, I've streamed this game before. I don't know why it's fighting me this evening. No, I definitely would not dive in that Titan sub either. There's no way. Um, Even before this, I would have been hesitant. And in fact, if you would have asked me before this happened, even like the mere subs that went down to the Titanic and that they've been successful in doing so, I probably still wouldn't do it just because drowning is one of my biggest fears. So there's no way you would have probably gotten me to go in that sub or any sub. Yeah, I don't know what else we can learn from the wreck, but obviously, I am not an archaeologist, so it's not for me to make that decision. Now, if someone came to me and said, would you dive to the Britannic? That might tempt me. just because it's nowhere near in as deep of water as the Titanic, you can take a regular sub down to the Britannic. So the Britannic is in 400 feet of water, whereas the Titanic's in 2,500 feet of water. So, I mean, and really, people, human beings can dive, scuba dive down to the Britannic from what I hear. But on the way back up, you have to stop every so often, like in intervals, to let your body decompress from the pressure that there is. But you can take a regular sub down to the Britannic. And the thing is, the Britannic, the ship itself is actually longer, than what the body of water is that it's in. And what I mean is, uh, say my arm right here is the surface. Hey, we're in. That took long enough. But say my arm right here is the surface, and this is 400 feet of water. The Britannic is 800 feet long. So, hold on. I'm going to grab something. So, again, my arm is the sea floor. We're in 400 feet of water. The Britannic is 800 feet long. If you were to stand the Britannic up on its bow like this, half of the ship would be sticking out of water. So you think about it, it's really not that deep of water that the Britannic is in comparison to the Titanic. So I would feel a lot more comfortable going to the Britannic than I would the Titanic. Right, so we can finally walk around the Titanic while we actually talk about it. Okay. And eventually, I'm going to get some shelves to put behind me. You can see I've got this little stand right here. I've got my Titanic model right there behind me. Eventually, I want to get some shelves, like some tiered shelves that I can start putting like more than just one of my ships behind me, so you can see those. And we've got the first super chat. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate that, my friend. I got to screenshot that first super chat. Got to save a picture of that. Yeah, we were having a lot of technical difficulties, but I finally got it figured out. And apologies for that. I have not streamed in a pretty long time, but the channel is growing, and it's growing to the point where, honestly, monetization of the channel could be in the future, and streaming is a part of that, or it has the potential to be a part of that. Let me rephrase that. So I'm gonna start getting into or attempt to get into a streaming on a regular basis, but I don't want to be a gaming streamer. What I'm planning to do is discuss, kind of have discussions like, excuse me, like what we're doing right now. And we'll start off once a week for about an hour. and we'll see how it goes. Let's go to the bridge. So yeah, we'll stream on Friday evenings for about an hour. It's either going to be 7 Central or 8 Central. Probably going to end up being 7 Central. I feel like 8 might be a little late. Because really old people are going to bed, really young people are getting ready to go out. So it's kind of an awkward time to start a stream, in my view. But I want to have more like a podcast type format where, we pick topics, we discuss them. Basically, what I'm doing right here. And I'll have other things going on in the background. Maybe get some people to come on, people who have cameras that don't mind being, live and on the internet. They can come join me. We can have all kinds of different discussions. Still one of my favorite parts of the ship. There was an electrical fire in the wireless room during the sinking. And that was after it got to the point where the water was going into the wireless room. All this, I'm pointing to this stuff like you guys can actually see from my point of view. But all this stuff we're looking at right here, they had all the power turned up, on everything. Everything was maxed out because as the ship was losing power and going down, the signal would get weaker and weaker and weaker. So they had to keep boosting the power. And by this, 2 o'clock in the morning, roughly, right around the time they had to abandon the wireless room, was when the water came in and they left everything on. So the water rises to the point where it's interacting with all the electrical equipment and boom, fire going. It looks like paint cans. Can you see my ship? Yeah, you can see my ship. Really anal about wanting that ship to be in the background. My model there. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow of some local people that have like a model building club. They do cars, they do planes, ships, all that good stuff. And I want to talk to them about converting a Titanic model into the Olympic. I want to see if it's possible. Let me pull this up. I do have a video of where I built this on the channel. This is the Revell 1-400 Titanic. If you watch the video, you know that it's not a fully accurate representation of the ship, but I mean, most models are not, regardless. But I want to see if we can cut out all this A-deck, forward A-deck promenade windows and make them open up like they are on the aft end of the ship, because that's how the Olympic was. And the Olympic had more of its B deck in the stern area opened up than what this does. Then, of course, there's the matter of decals. There are no Olympic models, so there's no decals that say Olympic. So I'm going to bring this with me and let them look at it and see if it's possible to do that in any way. Because I believe you can get custom decals made for your models. I just don't know about, the stuff I was just saying with the A deck and the B deck and all that. I bought this Britannic model online because it would be far too difficult to convert a Titanic model into the Britannic. There's too much about the Britannic that's different from Olympic and Titanic in order to do it. So I got this little guy right here. That meeting is at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. There will be another model build coming up on the channel of the SS United States. That is going to be the next model build you see on the channel. Let's go down here. So any other thoughts about the Titan sub? Any questions, any comments about it? Let's go down the second class stairs here. I'm 100% positive that if this ship were real and you could go like tour it or something, I could navigate this ship without the use or need for a map. Did they figure out, or was it ever mentioned what? I know it's a PlayStation controller they were using to steer that sub, but it wasn't like an official Sony PlayStation controller. It was like an aftermarket one. Did they ever say what brand it was that they were using? And that's another thing about it. I'm paying you $250,000 to take me down to see the Titanic in a sub that you maneuver using a Bluetooth aftermarket PlayStation controller. No. I really wish for, the sake of those other four souls that they would have been more concerned about, well, maybe, I don't know if concerned is the right word, but maybe more apprehensive about going when, they see what they're actually going down in as compared to what so many people have gone down and seen the Titanic in before and did it successfully. It's a Logitech controller. Okay. So I'm giving you $250,000 to take me down to see the wreck of the Titanic, and you are going to do that operating a sub that uses a Bluetooth Logitech controller. No. Just saying. No. So we can't get back here. This is actually where all the steering gear would be. Is or was it? Or was it down one more deck? I know it's on C deck. I know that much. I was just bragging about how I could get around in the ship without a map, and I'm already lost as to where if I'm on C deck or not. Let's go. Let's go back up to first class. You cannot tour the Titanic without checking out the Cafe Parisien. It's one of my favorite spots on the ship. You see, all of this would have been opened up further on Olympic. According to a Google thread, it's a Logitech F170. I thought this is an Xbox controller here, and obviously it's designed different, but they both got the two analog sticks. The ones that I saw of the Stockton Rush holding the actual controller, it's like these really long things. They stuck out almost like this on both of them. So I mean, the design, yeah, absolutely, totally looked like PlayStation, but I didn't get where those really long analog sticks. I just assumed that it was something that he modded. Yeah, I would have spent a lot of time in here if I were on the ship. And actually, Olympic did not have a Cafe Parisien, but it proved to be so popular on the Titanic that after the fact, they went and added a Cafe Parisien to the Olympic. He modded the sticks. Okay. And here's the a la carte. Modern ocean liners. Oh, nah, well, there's only one in existence, but modern cruise ships. These old ships could never come close to touching a modern ship in terms of amenities and safety features and whatnot. But man, these old ships just had so much style. I don't think that's gonna work. Here's the thing for anyone who, and I think there's a nickname for people like me that are big Titanic enthusiasts. I think they call us Titaniacs or something like that. For someone who is so fascinated with the show, it would be the ultimate dream, and I've dreamed about it too. Man, how amazing would it be to actually go and see the show? See it with your own eyes. Nothing can ever substitute that. But again, for me, it's a matter of I don't want to be crushed and I don't want to drown. So I would never have gone down, even in, like I said earlier, in like the Mir 2 subs. Those were what were used in the Titanic movie back in '97. Every single dive down was successful, never an issue. You asked me to go down in them, wouldn't do it. Britannic, possibly. Titanic, nah, it's too far down for my taste. And really, I don't know even how a live camera would work down there. I mean, how could you possibly get a signal down there? We're talking 2.5 miles beneath the ocean. So I don't know if, even if someone wanted to do that, would it be a possibility? That was another thing that that James Cameron said when he was talking about the Titan sub during the interview. He made the comment that he has now spent more time on the Titanic than the captain did. What? Nah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a brilliant director, and I appreciate his daring to go down the Titanic, the Mariana Trench, all these places. You know, he's braver than I am. But dude, you spent about as much time on the Titanic as I have. You know, the last people who actually stepped foot on the Titanic did so at 2:20 in the morning, Monday, April 15th, 1912. That's the last time anyone has ever physically touched the Titanic. Oh, there's a lot of stuff in the Bermuda Triangle. Planes, ships. I think going back to the sub too for a minute. I think one of the last reports I saw was they actually might have found some human remains uh, attached to some of the remnants of the sub that they pulled up. It actually surprises me. I did not expect to. I never expected them to find anything. Really, I didn't see how it was possible because I think that I forget who said it, but something about the weight. The best way to equate the weight that was the force of the pressure that imploded that sub. Imagine that sub with the Empire State Building sitting on it and fill up the Empire State Building with lead. And that was like equal to the amount of pressure. I don't know how true that is, but it's one of the things I heard. But it even kind of gives you a concept of how much force imploded on that sub and why it was gone like that. I mean, that's an intense amount of pressure. So for them to say that they actually found human remains, that really surprised me because I was expecting it. You know, the human body would be like molecules. You know, it's amazing that they found anything. All right, so we are almost at the 1 hour mark. So I'll be shutting it down soon. Any part of the ship you want to see before I call this a wrap? See, we didn't already hit all the most famous spots. Let's go to the Office Bridge. I don't think they do, and you can't see them anyway. Now, in the full version of the game, whenever that comes out, we might have that option. But as for right now, no, it's not a possibility. think we'll go to the bridge and we'll shut it down from there. I was kind of waiting for a while to talk about the sub because I didn't want to be one of those channels that was trying to basically, I don't know, cash in, for a lack of a better term, constantly posting about it just to get people to come check out the channel. I just didn't feel that was the right thing to do for me personally. No, you cannot climb the rigging either. But yeah, I'd still wanted to come on at least and do something and share my thoughts on it. And now that we have especially after the fact that we know for sure what happened, and we'll get more information about it as the investigation unfolds into what happened. Undoubtedly, there's going to be conspiracy theories that come up about the sub, just like there are conspiracy theories about the Titanic. So that's going to be interesting to say the least. Let's go down to C deck. One of my favorite spots in the ship, the purser's office. There it is, C73. Want to hear more about the conspiracy that the Titan crew faked their death? Oh, so there's already a conspiracy. I have not heard that. That's new to me. Probably from the same people who try to tell you that the Titanic and the Olympic were switched. It's of all the Titanic conspiracy theories, that's got to be the dumbest one there is. And believe me, they are, some of them are pretty dumb, but man, that's dumb beyond. I love the Marconi room as well, and I've said this in one of the shorts that are on the channel that Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, the Marconi operators, were two of my favorite heroes that were on the ship because they stayed till the wireless room started flooding, trying to reach other ships to get the word out that the Titanic was going down and they needed help. They stayed until the bitter end, and it cost Jack Phillips his life. Thankfully Harold Bride was able to be rescued. But yeah, those I did this. I think I did a few shorts where I mentioned heroes of the Titanic, and Bride and Phillips are two of the heroes. Two of my favorites. Thomas Andrews was a hero. Murdoch and Lightoller were heroes as well. I mean, I know what the movie It's one of the things I took issue with about the Cameron movie. Towards the end of the movie, after the collision, Murdoch is taking a bribe from Cal to save him a seat on the lifeboat. Then he shoots another passenger in cold blood. Then he kills himself. None of that. There is no proof any of that ever happened. We don't know what kind of man he was. But one thing we do know is there's no proof whatsoever that he shot himself. And James Cameron later expressed regret to Murdoch's descendants that he wished he hadn't portrayed him in that way. You can take liberties with the fictional characters that you make up, but you got to be real careful about how you portray real historical figures. Thin halls give you anxiety. As long as I'm the only one in them, it wouldn't bother me. Okay, well, I think this is about it. We're at the 1 hour mark. So I think this will be a good spot to wrap it up. Let's go. Let's go on the bridge, and we'll shut it down from there. I think I'm going to go check out either go read more of my Lusitania book or check out a movie. So if you're watching the replay of this, as I said earlier, we're going to start looking to stream every Friday evening. We started at 8 tonight, but I'm looking to probably go every Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And we do have a pretty consistent schedule with when content comes out on the channel. Shorts come out on Monday through Friday and all times are central. Shorts come out Monday through Friday at 11. We have fun little polls that come out at 10 in the morning on weekdays. And we have little quiz questions that are usually ship related. And those come out at 9 in the morning, Monday through Friday. We have one video that comes out each week, one big video that comes out every Friday at 7 a.m. So that's the schedule that we keep around here. And like I said, I'm in the beginning phases of rebranding or redoing how we do streams on here. But it's going to be more of like a podcast type format where we're just discussing various topics. More times than not, there'll probably be some type of ship related content. And that's what we're going to be doing. We do have a Discord server. Our Discord server is actually pretty active. And it's a great way if you want to chat with me directly, come on the Discord. It's a great time. If you want the link, I usually post it every now and then in the community tab in the YouTube channel. So check on that. And come chat with us. We'd love to have you. You probably will be able to do those things when the full game comes out. I think the ship will be moving as well when it comes out, and I think there's going to be a day and night cycle. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in, everyone who is here. Matt, thanks again for the super chat, my first super chat. Much appreciated. And we will see you back again next Friday at 7 p.m. So I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. And until the next time, drive safely.